Hey there everybody, this is Lee with Creative2xmom, and today I'm going to be sharing with you some of our October homeschool favorites. So we are a quarter of the way through the homeschool year already. We are in the 9th week of school. I can't believe it. Some ways I feel like we started yesterday, and in other ways I feel like, wow, we're definitely a quarter of the way through the year already. September and October tend to do that to me because there's not a whole lot of days off. So it's like, yep, we're definitely in a rhythm. But I wanted to share with you some of our homeschool favorites for the month of October, and this video is actually going to be part of an open collaboration with Abby over at Full-Time Wife Life. Every month she does an open homeschool favorites collaboration, so I will link her channel down below so you can check out all the contributors and possibly make a video like this yourself. So I have 4 items here for the month of October that I wanted to share with you. I'm going to start with a game. And these are the Professor Noggins games. We haven't really used these before in the past. I've looked at them and kind of thought, maybe, but I'm not really sure. This year we started out with the human body though. With my 7th grader and my 5th grader, a lot of times I will combine them either for history or for science, and this year they were combined for science, and we started with the human body. And we've done human body before, but I felt like this was a year that I kind of really wanted to step up the level in that. So we used several different things, including our Rebecca as our spine, but I wanted to do something that would just kind of be like a fun trivia, quick facts to add into what we were reading, and that was the Professor Noggins human body. This has so much cool stuff in it. Of course, it's got the basics like your nervous system and your skeletal system, but it also had some like hilarious questions in it. One of these cards I believe was called Body Facts or something like that, and it was like, on average, how many times a day does the average human fart? Which to me was like the funniest question, that there would even be an average, that somebody would have studied that and figured that out. So we had a lot of fun with these. A lot of times we would do our spine reading and our activity with Rebecca, and then we would go out and sit on the trampoline, and we just used them like trivia questions to add into what we were learning. We would just sit through and go like, okay, this is a trivia question, what do you think about this? And I would pull out the ones that went with that day's lesson to start with. If we were practicing or talking about the nervous system that day, we would do the nervous system questions first, and then we would go through others that we had learned early on. And I actually found this to be a super useful tool for writing my own test for that unit. I used a lot of the questions from these cards that we had been studying to write our test, either true and false or fill in or multiple choice or whatever. So I found it was a really great resource for our human body unit. The next thing I want to talk about is first language lessons. I vaguely in the back of my mind feel like I've shared this in a favorites video, so if I have, I apologize, but it's by Jessie Weiss, and this is our first year using it. It's broke down between levels 1 and 2, so grade 1 and 2. And I have a 1st grader, and it's super gentle grammar, like really gentle. Each lesson probably takes us about 5 minutes, if that, and he's loving it. In fact, most of the time he wants to do a 2nd or even a 3rd lesson in the day. I try not to do more than 2 at a time, because then I find that there's too much information to be processed, and that amount of time you kind of need to space it out so that they can digest it and hear it more than once and continue on with it. But it is definitely a building curriculum. We have spent several days talking about proper and common nouns, and not just in several different contexts, I guess I would say. People, places, things. We've talked about street names, we've talked about city names, we've talked about family names. That's kind of where we're at right now. Is it started out with the idea of what is a noun, now we're talking about proper and common nouns. There's also some memorization in this, and I've been using that in our morning basket time because my older kids have been enjoying memorizing those poems as well, and I feel like memory work is always good to jog your brain. So my little guy has been memorizing the poems in here as well as my older kids. I really like it. I feel like we are going to finish level 1 pretty quickly because each lesson only takes us 5, maybe 10 minutes, typically 5 minutes. And there's only 90 lessons per level. So there's 100 no, I'm sorry. There's 100 lessons per level. So there's 200 lessons in the entire curriculum, a little over a year's worth if you do one every day. So I feel like we'll probably finish early second grade, maybe halfway through second grade, but it is really good, solid stuff, and it's not overwhelming. Everything is scripted for you. I really like that one. Maybe I'll do a flip through curriculum video. Let me know if you'd be interested. And then I have 2 books to share for this past month. We are talking a lot about harvest and fall and apples and pumpkins. In fact, in our science, that's the 2 things that we're going to be studying in the month of October is apples and pumpkins. So I've picked up quite a few type farming harvest books from the library. And the first one is actually called Farming by Gail Gibbs. Sorry, Gail Gibson. Gibbons? Yeah, there we go. And some of it is pretty simple, basic stuff. Other stuff is actually really interesting the further you get into the book. It talks about the seasons and what happens on the farm in the different seasons. But as you get further into it, it also will tell you, like, in this season, this is what the farmer has to do to prepare the outside of his farm. These are some of his inside chores, and there's the cow has to be milked every season, so there's constantly milking the cows, there's canning food in the fall, getting the animals to market. A lot of times it's fair season. So it just goes through and it really talks about like what you do on the farm. And then I liked this part at the end was that there's different types of farms. I think it talked about 4 or 6. And some of these I wouldn't have even thought about to mention to the kids, like, hey, fruit farms can sometimes be separate. Cattle farms are sometimes separate. Dairy farms are almost always separate from just like a farm. So I highly recommend that book, especially for this time of year. And How to Make an Apple Pie and See the World. I know that this book is highly recommended in 5 in a row. I believe it's also in my father's world. It's just never one that we've read. And it was a cute little book. And in the back there is the apple pie recipe, which my little guy now is dying to make an apple pie. So since we're studying apples in the month of October, I'm pretty sure we're going to be using this recipe. That's why I haven't returned this one to the library yet. Definitely check it out if you're like me and you just haven't read it. It's well worth your time. So those are our favorites and our homeschool for the month of October. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what some of your favorites are. And don't forget to hop on over to Full-Time Wife Life and check out the other contributors in this collaboration. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and we'll see you next time. Bye guys.